No hospitals, no antibiotics, no doctor to call. If you got sick 50,000 years ago, your entire tribe was your only medicine. Getting sick today means a pharmacy trip. Getting sick then could mean a slow, uncertain fight with no guarantee of winning. So what did early humans actually do when illness struck? The answer is far more resourceful than most people expect. It starts with something surprising: care itself. Caring for the sick may be one of the oldest human behaviors on record. In 2017, researchers examining remains in Shanidar Cave, Iraq, found something remarkable about a Neanderthal man. He had lived to around 40 or 50 years old by Neanderthal standards, despite devastating injuries. His right arm had been amputated. He was partially blind. Severe arthritis affected his spine and joints. He couldn't have hunted. He couldn't have gathered food. By every measure, he should have died decades earlier. His tribe fed him, protected him, and cared for him for years. This is the oldest known evidence of real healthcare on Earth. Caring for the sick didn't start with hospitals. It started around a fire, tens of thousands of years ago. But care wasn't the only tool early humans had. They also had plants, and centuries of trial and error behind them. Long before anyone understood bacteria or inflammation, humans learned through observation which plants helped and which ones killed. The evidence survives in the archaeological record. Ötzi the Iceman, a 5,300-year-old mummy, was found carrying a medical kit. Inside were 2 pieces of birch polypore mushroom, strung carefully on a leather cord. Birch polypore contains natural compounds with antibiotic and anti-inflammatory properties. Ötzi also had intestinal parasites, and this exact mushroom has shown antiparasitic effects in modern studies. He wasn't carrying it as decoration. He was actively treating himself. And Ötzi is only 5,300 years old. The relationship between humans and medicinal plants goes back far further. Researchers studying ancient Neanderthal dental plaque found traces of plants with zero nutritional value at a site in Spain. Among them, yarrow and groundsel, both plants with documented medicinal properties even today. Neanderthals weren't eating these for calories. They were eating them because they worked. This evidence dates back at least 50,000 years. Then there's willow bark, chewed by humans for at least 3,500 years, documented in ancient Egyptian medical texts. The active compound inside is salicin, which your body converts into salicylic acid. In 1897, chemists at Bayer synthesized a stable version of that exact compound. They called it aspirin. The pill in your medicine cabinet today is the very same molecule your ancestors once pulled straight off a tree. And when plants weren't enough, ancient humans went further, much further. In 2018, researchers studying a 5,000-year-old Neolithic skull in Spain made a discovery that shocked the medical world. The skull had been deliberately cut open, not by injury, but by a human hand using a stone tool. It showed clear signs of healing, meaning the person actually survived the procedure. This practice is called trepanation, the oldest known surgical procedure in human history. It's been found on every inhabited continent: Peru, France, Russia, China, and across Africa. The oldest known examples are over 7,000 years old. Researchers believe it was used for severe headaches, seizures, mental illness, or skull fractures. The idea that something inside the skull caused the problem and that opening it might help was reverse engineering medicine, and the survival rate wasn't negligible. Studies suggest somewhere between 50 and 90% of patients survived. These weren't botched attempts. They were practiced procedures, passed down carefully through generations. But someone had to be in charge of all this knowledge. Someone who knew which plants to use and when to operate. The shaman. In nearly every hunter-gatherer society ever studied, this figure sat at the intersection of medicine and the supernatural. Where a hunter's knowledge fed the tribe for a week, the shaman's knowledge could keep them alive for a generation. A 2021 study analyzed a 12,000-year-old burial site in the eastern Mediterranean, tied to the Natufian culture. One burial stood out: a woman in her 40s, buried with over 50 tortoise shells and remains of several wild animals. Researchers concluded she was almost certainly a shaman, the most carefully buried person at the entire site. These healers weren't just mixing herbs. They were the living memory of their entire community. They carried medical knowledge passed down through dozens of generations, preserved through practice, story, and ritual. Lose the shaman, and the tribe lost its entire medical library in a single death. And then there was fever, something modern medicine actually misunderstood for decades. Modern medicine once aggressively suppressed fever with ice baths and rapid cooling. It turns out that was often wrong. Fever isn't your body malfunctioning. It's your immune system raising the temperature to kill pathogens that can't survive the heat. Ancient humans understood this intuitively, without any scientific terms at all. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups show a consistent pattern. Feverish individuals are moved closer to fire, not cooled down. Their bodies are allowed to burn through the illness naturally. Only in the last century did modern science discover the immunological mechanism explaining why that instinct was right all along. Your ancestors didn't have germ theory, but 300,000 years of dying from infection taught them exactly what worked. That knowledge wasn't written in books. It was coded directly into behavior, passed down through action. Here's what makes this all quietly devastating. Roughly 25% of children in ancient hunter-gatherer societies died before age 5, mostly from infection and disease that modern medicine now treats routinely. And yet, the species survived. It survived because of the birch mushroom and the willow bark, because of the shaman and the trepanation, because of the tribe that never abandoned the man with no arm and failing eyes. The next time you swallow an aspirin, you're completing a line stretching back 5,000 years. Back to someone crouched in a cave, chewing tree bark, not knowing why it helped, only knowing that it did. We didn't invent medicine, we inherited it. Most of this knowledge was discovered entirely by accident. No laboratories, no clinical trials, no understanding of microbes. Just human beings trapped in a brutal cycle. Someone gets sick. Someone tries something. Most attempts fail, but occasionally it worked. And when it did, the information outlived the person who discovered it. That's what medicine originally was, not science. Memory. Beyond plants and surgery, ancient humans also relied heavily on isolation when illness threatened the whole group. Sick individuals were sometimes moved to separate shelters, an early instinctive form of quarantine. This wasn't cruelty. It was one of the earliest practical medical strategies humanity ever developed. Wound care mattered enormously too. Cuts and injuries were cleaned, sometimes with specific plant extracts known to reduce infection. Some cultures used natural adhesives, like tree resin, to help seal and protect open wounds. Evidence of deliberate bone setting has also been found. Broken limbs stabilized and healed at proper angles. This required real anatomical understanding, built entirely through observation and repeated experience. Childbirth, one of the most dangerous events in ancient life, also had accumulated practical knowledge behind it. Experienced women often served as attendants, understanding positioning techniques developed over countless generations. Herbal remedies were sometimes used to manage pain, encourage labor, or address complications during delivery. None of this guaranteed survival, but it dramatically improved the odds compared to facing it entirely alone. Mental and emotional distress didn't go unaddressed either. Ritual, music, and communal support played real roles in healing. Some societies believed illness had spiritual causes, treated through ceremony as much as physical remedy. Whether or not the spiritual explanation held any truth, the communal attention itself likely provided real psychological comfort. Diet also played a quiet role in recovery. Certain foods were specifically given to weakened or recovering individuals. Broths, easily digestible foods, and specific plants were likely reserved for those too weak to eat normally. None of this required understanding nutrition science. It required generations of careful, repeated observation. Even death itself was handled with practical wisdom, recognizing when illness had become unsurvivable and preparing accordingly. This wasn't giving up. It was honest, hard-earned understanding of the body's real limits. Every one of these practices, care, plants, surgery, isolation, ritual, existed without a single textbook or diagram. They existed because people paid close attention, remembered what worked, and passed it forward without hesitation. That relentless cycle of observation, memory, and teaching is the true origin of medicine itself. Modern medicine feels disconnected from all of this, hidden behind white coats and clinical language. But underneath it all, it's still the exact same species, trying to survive long enough to understand itself.